This is the Right Guys podcast. Did you know the Democrats are so screwed? They're just screwed. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back to the Right Guys podcast. My name is Max McGuire here with Mr. Producer Josh Hammerling, just adjusting my microphone for a second. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Josh, we've said this on the show before. Donald Trump warned us that eventually we're going to get tired of winning. These news cycles, it feels like we're getting a month of news in a day. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be the wuss who says it. But a lesser man than me might be getting tired of winning. I'll never say it. But it's so much. And that's by design. That's the Trump administration's plan.
Yeah. What is going on there?
That's the Trump administration's plan to what they call flooding the zone, right?
Yeah.
We are going to hit so many things at once that the media can't really cover them all, right? Because something new happens right afterwards. The minute the media starts covering one thing, you do something else. And as tired as it kind of makes me, imagine if you are the film crew for like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. You're on location one place, you got to rush to the other place to film it. That's by design. Like, oh, Donald Trump says no more trans in the military. Oh, and by the way, USAID is gone, right? So you can't cover it. There's just too much happening.
Could you imagine rolling into work, getting out of your bed, walking up to your computer, right, at USAID, trying to log on and realize you can't? Or you went to work that day.
Yeah.
They're not letting you pass the door.
Elon Musk.
It's delicious.
Elon Musk said it best. Did you listen to his spaces last night?
No,
I think
I saw it on.
with Joni Ernst.
Yeah.
The best line coming from it was that he says when he and Doge started looking at USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development, they handle a lot of like food aid, medicine aid, but they also launder money for their pals and their cronies. Bill Kristol, noted anti-Trumper, he used to be a Republican, noted anti-Trumper. He was getting a payday to advocate for democracy abroad. It's all BS. And we have a clip of that in a little bit. It's all BS.
Bill Kristol. Wow.
Yeah. So we'll cover that in a minute, but lots of people are getting angry. Democrats are getting angry. You can tell that they had their hand in the cookie jar by who is the most aghast that it was pulled away from them. But the best part about the spaces with Elon Musk last night that I heard, and the clip is making the rounds now. I won't pull it up. I'll just paraphrase it. He said that when they went into USAID, they expected to find a worm in the apple. And instead what they found is that there wasn't an apple at all. It was just a ball of worms.
One of the tweets he put out said that they never denied a payment ever.
Yeah.
They said yes to everything. We need yarn for a project at blah, blah, blah. Give it. Right.
Go for it.
Just
send in the receipt.
Stamped everything that came in.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being part of a department where it's your job to say no to stuff and to never have it actually say no?
Yeah.
And just letting it happen.
I watched a guy on TikTok though. He's like, they were saying yes to everything. I was in the army and I lost a receipt for Dave and Buster's for an event or like Buffalo Wild Wings, and they denied it. Where was I? Where were they when I needed reimbursement?
Wow.
So USAID is gone. Well, it's now been absorbed by the State Department. The left is saying that this is illegal. No, USAID was created by an executive order by, of all people, John F. Kennedy. And so any government agency that is created by executive order can be undone by executive order. And since then, Congress has basically appropriated money for it. So it can't go away completely. But basically what Trump has said is, okay, we don't need you to be an agency. You can do all of your congressionally mandated duties from the broom closet in the State Department.
Yeah.
Right. That's basically what's happening. And it's really interesting. There was a host, we'll see who it is in a second. I forget the name, for CBS, I think it is, Face the Nation. She's grilling Representative Brian Mast, and I disagree with Brian Mast on a lot of things. One of them is gun control, which we'll talk a little bit later as we get into the new DNC chair and vice chairs. But he came on and he said that it was all leftist propaganda, and she challenged him, like we're hearing so often with the media and the left. Oh, you're saying that without evidence. And then he literally just dropped the evidence on her feet. Let's listen to this.
Of people throughout the State Department, other agencies, where we're freezing aid. These are all very important and necessary steps to make sure that we secure America, and we're going to support that.
I'm sorry, can I follow up on what you just said there? You want to authorize purging of State Department personnel? What does that mean exactly?
Well, if you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I could give you hundreds of examples of where they were authorizing.
What proof do you have of that?
Sure. Let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal, $50,000 to do, let's see, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru, $20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador. Shall I continue with more examples of where DEI was the priority?
It certainly seems like there could be a review of things. Foreign aid, as you know, is less than 1% of the entire federal budget. So we're talking small amounts of money by comparison.
We're still talking.
This is the new talking point. Oh, this is only a small amount of money, right? That's only 1%. Well, we've heard this line before. That's only 1%. Well, now that makes this 2% and 3%, right? That was the big Republican plan 8-ish years ago. It was the penny plan, right? We can balance the budget just by cutting 1% every year. If you're going to spend $1 on something, spend 99 cents. You do that consistently over a course of a few years, you can actually get the budget under control. But that's the new line. Oh, it's only 1%. It's only 1%. And kudos to him for coming with the receipts.
Yeah, being able to list off the 20 grand a pop for a drag show? Like,
yeah.
Who
knew they were so expensive? Who knew it was so expensive to put a chubby man in a wig?
Kind of money, right? Like, I would change my lifestyle. I mean,
did you see the one in New Orleans that just came out? Incorporating fake assassinating Trump into the dance?
No way. What is this?
No.
What are you talking about? No.
Pull it up. Yeah.
Like in a like a nightclub dance or something?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Seriously. So they're doing a Trump assassination nightclub dance.
They're bringing it into it. Yeah. Yeah. This was Libs of TikTok dropped this.
Oh, I love them.
Last night.
I follow them a lot. Yeah.
Let me download it. I really wish everyone would just make it easy to download Twitter videos.
Right. Be able to click on the button.
Yeah.
If you're listening to Elon, that makes our jobs that much
easier.
Well,
no, you can, but people can turn it off in the settings if they want to own the video. So you have to go through like other websites to download it. Here's the video. This is from New Orleans, which again, New Orleans is hosting the Super Bowl this week. So yes, there's a lot of people in New Orleans, a lot of weirdos too. This is what was posted last night.
What is that?
The audio listeners, which if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you subscribe to the audio version of the podcast, Right Guys Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Audible. And if anyone wants it somewhere else, leave a comment either on YouTube or Rumble and we'll see it. But this is a man dressed like a woman dancing. Sounds like a Rihanna song or something. And then finger guns pointed at a video screen showing Donald Trump getting shot in the ear. I don't know what's worse. Is it worse that was the dance, or is it worse that the audience cheered?
I think that's it. Like, I don't know what nightclub they're at. You know, you don't know your audience there, but you know, these are the kind of things in the past. Like if this was Obama, they would be visiting your house trying to figure out who is setting this stuff up, right? Because just saying you want to do it is a crime, right? And you got to take all this stuff seriously. And with the 3 attempts he's already had, you got to think in the back of your head, maybe pushing out the assassination narrative stuff isn't really good anymore inside of dance and art. Yeah.
Well, listen, they're not learning. They're not learning. The fact that this apparently happened in New Orleans is shocking. New Orleans is definitely a more liberal city compared to other places in the South, but still, to hear that cheering, it's pretty shocking. But they're not learning their lesson. They're not learning their lesson. I think this applies to the entire Democrat Party. I know you were watching some of it. I love these episodes, Josh, where we can both over the weekend consume some content.
Yeah.
And we both just independently know what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And the way the DNC elected the new chair and vice chair
Oh my God.
is perhaps the funniest exhibition of what is wrong with the Democrat Party, but also proof that they haven't learned their lesson. They haven't learned what's wrong with the Democrat Party. They haven't learned from their mistakes. And listen, the part of me that likes to win is saying don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. But it's too funny not to talk about. So I have a few clips. I don't know how many we'll play, but we don't have to play the beginning of it because they ran into trouble. They had nominees for chair and vice chair. They ran into trouble because under their rules, written into their bylaws of the Democratic Party, they have to have a gender balanced slate of candidates.
That means.
Well, it means if you're going to have 5 men running for a chair, you have to have 5 women. And if you can't have 5 women, then you have to cut down the number of men who can run because it has to be balanced. But they've thrown a wrinkle into it, which is that if you declare yourself non-binary, if you declare you are neither a man nor a woman, then you exist outside of the balance.
Oh.
And you can have a bonus slot. Here is the acting chair talking about that. We won't play the other ones because there's a lot of parliamentarian where they're all confused. It was chaos. They don't know what's actually going on. Here is the chair trying to figure it out.
We're finding out ways to expedite this. Because of our gender balance provisions on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. Okay? So on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. If 2 candidates receive...
What?
Can you though?
I'm going to turn to Helen to clarify.
Parliamentarian coming in. Can completely say the opposite.
You are in this next ballot where you have 2 votes. As the chair has said, you may vote for 2 males, 2 females, 2 of any gender, okay? Nope, you can't do that because we've got to balance. You could vote for 1 of any gender, okay?
What?
Or no, non-binary gender, excuse me. It is late, okay?
Oh my God.
They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they're doing. Go ahead.
It's ridiculous. Like she didn't even know. She confused herself and she wrote the rules.
Yeah.
And she's got the rules in front of her. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do here?
Well, what I
Wow.
think is really telling is you look at these people like, oh, we're on the final ballot. You should be able to vote for whoever you want. What they're saying is the way it should be, that you can vote for whoever you want. And then they say, oh, wait, actually, no, you can't. You have to balance because we have to be gender balanced. So the way it works in the end is even if you have super highly qualified men or super highly qualified women, they might get kicked off the ballot just in the name of gender balance,
Yeah.
right? Which is insane. And it's not like this is a party that historically has had a problem with this stuff. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard was the vice chair.
Yeah.
So it's not like this has been a boys' club for decades.
No. I can't think of anything else the Dems have done. I've never known them to try to put somebody in an office without a vote before. So, I mean,
Well, no, they're letting you vote, but they're
Oh.
saying you have to vote for 1 man or 1 woman. But how does it work with the gender non-binary?
Yeah, yeah.
You
it's
have
like, is
to
it
you have to
neutral?
vote balanced, so you can vote 1 man and 1 other. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense,
Right,
and you can see it in their eyes and their faces. They understand it doesn't make sense. This is virtue signaling, plain and simple. But I wanted to. I said, okay, you know, I said over the weekend, let's tune in. Let's see who these people are, because I have a feeling the Democrats are putting forward their best. And MSNBC had a panel. They had a panel where they introduced different people running for the positions, and they let them say an opening statement. And why don't we just listen in, and you can kind of get a feel for how these opening statements went.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have
that
30
Psaki?
seconds, And we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
You fight on. You fight on. And listen, if there was anywhere to hear, I believe these are called Negro spirituals. If there was anywhere you'd expect to hear this, DNC opening ceremony, opening arguments is fine, leadership forum. I'm sure that when she went to the actual podium at the event, she didn't do the same thing. Oh. Is she going to give an opening statement?
Uh-oh.
Is she going to give an opening statement? Looking around the room.
Floor is hers.
We shall overcome. We shall over.
Surprising no one, she did not win. Apparently, to become DNC chair, you can't just sing spirituals. You
Why not?
actually have to have a plan. And so, apparently, you do.
No.
And so, I want to make sure I get this right. The new DNC chair's name, Ken Martin. He's from Minnesota.
How did he come out swinging?
He's as white as white can be. He is.
Oh.
He is like the whitest person probably on the ballot. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just it is a night and day difference compared to what the DNC actually looked like if you were watching these candidate forums, these opening statements and the like. Looking at him, I think it seems pretty obvious that the DNC expects Buttigieg to run in 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, hey, we need to get the American people to look at us differently, we want to break the mold, Buttigieg is running. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's running for something. And so he ended up winning the DNC chair, and the vice chair was won by none other than David Hogg.
They
Yes.
beat David Hogg?
David Hogg.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find the picture of him for anyone who doesn't know.
My favorite
who we're
photos where he's
talking about.
standing there and he's got one hand in the air and he's doing this weird
Yeah, the
skinny
Nazi
guy
salute.
flex. That's what it
Yeah.
was. He had his arm up, right? Wow.
I got it for you. I got it.
That one.
Fast. I'm fast.
Right.
David Hogg. He became
That's
famous.
not a Nazi salute, apparently.
No, it's not. It's also not a Black Power salute.
Oh.
He became famous because he was a student at Marjorie Stewart Douglas High School in Florida when there was a mass shooting. And the details on it have been a little sketchy. I might have actually fallen prey to some misinformation. I might have actually fallen prey because
What?
for the longest time, I remembered watching an interview he gave where he explained that when the shooting started, he rode his bike to school with a camera to conduct interviews. Lots of people said he wasn't there. Now there's some evidence that maybe he was there. So, in dispute. But he's a survivor.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that there was another survivor. I want to see if I can find his name because I want to give him.
Let's do credit.
Yeah. He was another Parkland survivor, Kyle Kashev. And so what was very interesting in the aftermath of this shooting is that's Kyle right here. Very interesting thing in the aftermath of the shooting, there were two students from the school who came forward on complete opposite ends of the gun control issue. You had David Hogg on the let's take everyone's guns away, and you had Kyle Kashev on the pro Second Amendment side. what made it even more interesting is that they both were accepted to Harvard.
Oh.
Now, Kyle, I think he scored like 300 or 350 points higher on the SAT than Hogg. But his letter of acceptance was actually rescinded because his classmates came forward and showed that he used the N-word when he was 14.
Really? All that?
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was like, yeah, he used the N-word when he was 14. So he had his letter of admission rescinded. Even though he had better grades than Hogg, even though he was a better student, they came for him because you can only have one survivor at Harvard. It can't be the pro-gun guy. Has to be the anti-gun guy. He was taken out by old, like, it was like almost like Xbox Live kind of stuff, which is crazy. That somebody would remember it and be able to go back that far and then go back and find it. I mean, the amount of detective work there is intense. Oh, yeah.
But they got Hogg. They got Hogg, though. Hogg Wild here.
So I wanted to take a little time today, and then we'll talk about other things, to cover some of the dumbest things that David Hogg has said on Twitter. X now. I guess back then it was Twitter, but
Twitter, yeah.
Some of the dumbest things he's said. Because this is a man, he's a boy, man, who has quite literally fallen upwards. The fact that he is occupying the same position within the Democrat Party that Tulsi Gabbard held is wild to me.
Well, it shows you how far the value of that has fallen at this point. I mean, it's not what it used to be.
No. And I'm even more surprised that they let this happen because this is something that he tweeted out just 3 years ago. Democrats are so effing stupid. Young people should just start taking over state and local parties and eventually the national one. They are as organized as a herd of cats. We need to vote for competent Democrats in primaries.
That's just not true at all. They are extremely organized.
And then next day he says, burned a lot of bridges yesterday. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. Turns out he didn't burn any bridges. He just became the vice chair of the party. So let's read some of the things
How
he
does
said.
one do that? Like, how do you become the vice chairman? Anything.
Listen, he has the left is looking at this election. They say, okay, what do we need? We need another like milk toast man from the Midwest to be chair, and we need David Hogg to be vice chair, because if anything, the thing that would have won the Democrats that election was wanting to take everyone's guns away. So this is one of David Hogg's tweets, and he's actually gotten more intelligent about this as he went on. Some of his worst were right after the shooting. When he said, okay, this is going to be my persona now, but by the way, I know nothing. But even still, 4 or 5 years after, we still get gems like this. Quote, if you need a license to kill deer, why don't you need one to kill humans?
Is he stupid? That's the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard. Like, really? What? Clearly, you don't need a license to kill humans because their numbers are staggering compared to deers. I mean, they just wouldn't need a tag, right?
It's like he read or watched James Bond and took it literally.
Yeah,
that he had a license to kill.
Oh my god! And he's stupid, just stupid. And your new vice chair.
Yeah, but the other end of the spectrum is like in most states you also do need a carry permit to be able to carry in public. So like, in many states force you to get a permit to own a gun, which I think is unconstitutional, but they still do it anyway. Let's look and see what are the community notes on this. Because community notes is newer than this tweet, so these community notes have to be relatively recent. Licensing for harvesting and hunting wild animals are issued by state. Self-defense against another person is recognized as a universal right. Killing people outside lawful self-defense is legal in all of the United States, and depending on state is punishable by death.
Yeah, it's called murder.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is that how could anybody take this stuff seriously when you read his tweets, Max? Like, he's not an intellectual powerhouse, and I don't think I'm going to get sued for that because I don't think he'd be able to handle the debate with me. He wouldn't be able to handle you.
Anyone.
I mean, anyone.
But he's really good at pulling on the heartstrings, and anytime he gets out of his element, he says, "I survived a mass shooting." I mean, that's what he falls back on. Here's the next one. You have no right to a gun. You are not a militia. When you're talking about your Second Amendment rights, you're talking about a state's right to have what is today the National Guard. The modern interpretation of 2A is a ridiculous fraud pushed for decades by the gun lobby. And this was a community note that actually did get voted and applied to it. Community note says, while individual opinions about the proper reading of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution differ wildly and have for generations, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that it does protect an individual right to bear arms with certain limitations. Imagine if we had come out against any other protected right. Like, imagine if we say, the right for African Americans to vote is not real. It wasn't intended that way. We get skewered, right? You don't actually have a right. You don't actually have a right to go to church. That just protects the right for churches to exist. You have no right to go inside of it. No, this guy's just insane. But this is the new vice chair of the Democrat Party. This is someone who went to school with him, allegedly. I was trying to track down all the details. He says, I was a senior in high school with this clown when the Parkland shooting happened. I distinctly remember he wasn't even at school when it happened, and he was too busy hanging out on CNN when we all went back. He was a plant that sold his soul while me and my friends grieved. And I see this is where, and then he actually starts sharing. Apparently he knows who David Hogg's burner account on Reddit is. If you could remove anyone from this earth, who would it be? Trump. Now, I don't know if that's his burner, but it might be.
To make the allegation that he wasn't there is, should be earth-shattering enough. The plant part of it, selling his soul, hanging out with CNN, you always see these shootings, and, Alex Jones would always say it was something crazy and off the wall that causes it. But sometimes there is weird stuff that happens at these things. David Hogg just comes to prominence from this shooting. It just happens to get more and more popular on the internet. It just happens to make all the cycles. He just happens to now be the DNC chair because he carried the water for all those years. Are there coincidences?
No,
is it all big coincidences?
There's no. I don't believe there are any real coincidences.
It just all seems so perfect, and he's like the face of it now. Because now the person who's the vice chair of the DNC, when they have a real problem, they go back to what you say. I'm just going to keep going back to the "I survived a mass shooting. You can't have guns" speech.
Yeah. Well, he for the longest time has sworn he wasn't actually running for anything. Here's in 2022. I'm one of the most politically toxic people in the country, and I'm too radical for American politics. No, I'm not running for office. We have enough straight white men in power. It'd be nice to see some people who actually look like our country and not privilege. I wonder when his opinion changed.
Yeah. Well, that was 3 years ago. Ish.
Yeah. So he doesn't believe that anymore because he put his name in the hat.
Yeah.
It used to be said that gun control is the third rail of American politics. In that case, I'm the third rail along with many other in the movement. I mean, this would be a great interview topic for him.
Yeah.
You said yourself that if you become a leader in the party, you'd be taking a spot away from, I'll use their term, marginalized communities. When did you change your mind? When did you think it was actually a better idea for a white man to run the DNC? He'll never be asked that question, but he should.
No. And how does he what does he do for a living? That's what I want to know. And it blows my mind, right? Because he's done nothing but post this kind of dribble, which has been the same propaganda that the Democrats have had since anybody can remember. It's no wonder. To claim that he's somehow toxic politically, he's exactly what they want.
No.
And has been.
I'm overjoyed at this, right? He is the most beta male person they could have picked. Other than the actual chair. Did we play the video of the chair yet?
No, we haven't. We just
I'm calling David Hogg the most beta male, but he I guess he's a Charlie male, and this guy's the beta. Here's the guy who actually won the chair position.
Pete, what was all of that? I don't know. Well, at least they're getting better at their videos and memeing. I don't know, man. That was the dumbest thing I ever saw. They're just pointing to a bunch of words that promise a bunch of platitudes, and that's now what the DNC has, is somebody that just makes promises. Promises to take your guns away and tax you more.
Now, the DFL is Minnesota's Democrat Party. It's the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Very far left. very, very far left. So not only is he just milquetoast, not only is he a far left lunatic, but he's also one of the idiots who was doing the dance that Biden did such a great job. Again, they're not learning. They're just not learning.
Well, quit telling them.
Too late now. They
I
can't
know.
take it back. They can't take it back, right? And like, listen, someone like David Hogg, he will do and say anything it takes to make people happy. He's in this because he realized he can make a career of it. Last time I checked on what David Hogg does, I believe I remember he had a nonprofit that was employing himself, and he ran donations through the nonprofit. Apparently he kept everything above board, but he was being paid to do all the things he does, right? And it was all through a nonprofit, and that's just what he did. He was just a anti-gun idiot, and that was his job. He was the left's anti-gun idiot, but he'll say anything. Like here he is. He said abolish ICE, defund the police, but not USPS. He said the NRA needs to be designated a terrorist organization for their role of the supporters played in staging the insurrectionist coup. Unlike COVID,
Wow.
there's no vaccine for climate change. Once we start feeling the impacts, we can just implement and survive. There is only one solution: prevention. If this election is a matchup between Taylor Swift and Ted Nugent, I think it's safe to say I've seen enough. Biden wins the 2024 election. He was
wow, that one.
spot on.
Didn't
Spot
age
on.
well. Didn't age
Spot on. He is Nostradamus. I love this interaction. He says, remind me, how many AR-15s did Jesus own? And one of the best clapbacks ever from Britton Wolf on Twitter. He said, not enough to avoid being murdered by his government.
Bam.
One of the best clapbacks. I love it. But you can see, like, this was early David Hogg, like right after the Parkland shooting, getting his feet wet. Oh, I'm going to be edgy. I'm going to be edgy. I'm going to respond to the vice president, Mike Pence, because that's who he was responding to at the time. How many AR-15s did Jesus own?
Like, what
just
is that?
Bam, right between the eyes.
Right. Oh. And this is when he was on Twitter at the time. That wasn't
Yes.
an X. And to see that blue check mark, I wonder how fast he got that blue check mark once he was in the system. And he starts playing with everybody. He starts representing.
Yeah.
And was he like a fact checker at those times? Right?
Well,
Look at all the power Twitter gave him, I think. You know?
It was very easy for everyone except for me, I guess. I was on TV a bunch on OAN. They still wouldn't verify me. But Hogg became verified once he started doing media interviews. Once you become a public persona, then it's very easy to get it. How many AR-15s Jesus owned? Not enough to avoid being murdered by his government. This one is very funny. I'm gonna zoom into this. In 2020, David Hogg said Lincoln was a really good president. Same day, he had to apologize. He said, actually, I was not aware of the scope of how detrimental he was to so many Native American populations. He was not a really good president.
Wow. Wow.
I thank my indigenous peers that brought my attention to Lincoln's atrocities committed against Native Americans. I'm deeply sorry for not acknowledging these crimes that I was unaware of until now. I will do better in the future. This is such an asshole. I mean, this guy is so desperate for power that he will apologize for saying, quote, Lincoln was a really good president. Yeah. So apparently you can't say that. That's been the talking point. Lincoln freed the slaves. Lincoln freed the slaves. Nope. He was not nice to the Native Americans. So I apologize. I'll never say it again.
Right. And he was so busy trying to go after Native Americans, that little thing called the Civil War wasn't on his mind for nearly all of his presidency, right? It just blows my mind that the virtue signaling here is just a slap in the face. And it's like he did it just so he could make the about face, right? Or did he really get a bunch of messages from all his lefty peers like, oh, dude, he was terrible. He was terrible.
There was no 18th or 19th century president who was good to Native Americans, right? It just wasn't, right? It just wasn't. It'd be one thing if you're talking about like Andrew Jackson, like, I didn't realize Andrew Jackson didn't like Native Americans. I'm sorry. That's really. Like I can understand that apology, right? But to be offended by hearing him say that Lincoln was a really good president, not the best president, not a perfect president. He's just a really good one. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Here is David Hogg talking about masculinity. Why is masculinity such a huge thing for conservatives? I genuinely don't understand. Projecting your insecurities on others will never make you feel better about yourself. I think it probably boils down to homophobia and sexism / anti-femininity. Oh, he's got us. He's got us, man.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
He's got us. The Super Bowl this weekend's all about homophobia, right?
It's gotta be.
Like pounding some beers with the boys, all about homophobia.
I didn't know me being masculine meant that I was afraid of gay men or women.
Yeah, it's just so dumb.
But I like being masculine, though, Max. Does that make me evil then?
No. The Democrat Party traded Tulsi Gabbard for this.
For David Hogg. Bad trade.
Tulsi
worst
Gabbard,
trade ever.
Tulsi Gabbard was designed to appeal to the middle, right? This seems to be very obviously an attempt to appeal to the Gen Zers, because they looked at the trend line for this past election. Donald Trump, he's been saying that he won the Gen Zers. He didn't win, but he won more than any Republican in a long time. And he's made serious headway, because at the end, the issue that people care most about is the economy, is being able to raise a family and the like. So David Hogg is not designed to grab the middle. He's designed to help with the young, and I don't think he's going to do that. Here's another one.
He's so far left. I mean, he's more left than I think anybody has been in a long time in that position.
Mm-hmm. Here's another tweet. Like me, I'm never planning on having kids. I would much rather own a Porsche and have a Portuguese water dog and golden doodle. Long term, it's cheaper, better for the environment, and will never tell you that it hates you or ask you to pay for college.
What a total douchebag remark. Oh my gosh. Children are worth their weight in gold. Once you've had one, you realize you love them.
Yeah.
And when you realize you can't have them, you realize how much they're worth.
I rented a Porsche for my wedding. I always thought it'd be cool to have one. No. The cost of ownership is insane.
And what's crazy is Porsches are in there less than the other supercars, and they're a fortune to keep together.
Yeah. I was looking at one I was just like, a family member was thinking of buying a Porsche, and I was just doing a little research. How much does an oil filter cost? It's like 5, 6, 7x versus what it is for my Jeep. Like, how much does an air cabin filter cost? 10x. It was like $100. Mm-hmm. And that was for like an off-brand. I mean, it's very expensive. But listen, that's what David Hogg cares about. I think this is really going to resonate in middle America.
Portuguese water dog. Like, what man sit there and he's like, I'm going to get me a wonderful little Portuguese water dog and a golden doodle. No, dude, I just want a mutt that I teach how to chase a ball or hunt. I mean, this is so unmasculine.
They're kind of cute. They're kind of cute.
I didn't say they were cute. It's just, you know, when I think, look at that haircut. I mean, that's so not masculine now, dude.
Listen, he probably had one growing up and he loves it.
Yeah, maybe.
Usually not like the go-to you hear. You usually hear golden retriever. He said doodle,
golden
whatever.
Doodle.
But you think that, listen, to each their own.
Golden doodles are actually great dogs. My neighbors have one, and it's a great dog.
At the end of the day, though, or at the end of your life, golden doodle's not going to take care of you. Golden doodles, your Porsche is not going to bury you. Right, and your earthly possessions aren't going to remember you. So it's just a very immature take from a very immature kid. I mean, he's a man, but he's still a kid. Here's another one. This is a tweet for the founders of the gun violence prevention movement, started centuries ago by almost entirely black, brown, and indigenous LGBTQ women and non-binary people that never got on the news or in most history books. We may not know all your names, but thank you. This is January 26, 2020. Centuries ago. He believes that centuries ago, there were trans people leading the charge to ban guns.
Oh, the delusion in his mind. Like, does he even look stuff up before he makes a tweet, or does he just put crap out there? Right. And if he's just willing to put that kind of shit out on his tweets, imagine what he's going to do for their party. Like, this is the guy that's the vice chair now.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember when AI first came out and people were asking it to show the founding fathers and they were all like black people?
Yeah.
This is that. This is that in human form. He's like, oh, we'll never forget the centuries ago. Well, America's 250 years old. So how many centuries ago was the gun control movement founded, right? But centuries ago, almost entirely by black. Well, first of all, centuries ago, there were no black people here to advocate for this. I mean, it was pre-Civil War. It's just wrong. Like, this is the kind of thing where if this is an essay in high school and you're the teacher, you don't even give partial credit, right? No, black, brown, indigenous, LGBTQ, women, and non-binary people did not start the gun control movement.
Not at all.
It's just not, and definitely didn't do it centuries ago.
But the facts never mattered to Hogg.
No,
right?
No.
And the facts never mattered. I just didn't realize that there was speculation on whether he was actually at that very shooting, the very thing that defines him. Right?
Yeah, there's some speculation.
So that's...
And it might just be because of how video clips were aired and how headlines were made, but the video clips made it sound like he raced to the school after the shooting. People who support him say that he was there, ran home, got his camera, and came back, because that's what everyone does when they survive a mass shooting. They go back, get their camera, and come back. But it's been disputed for a long time. I'm at the point where it's unclear to me, and I don't want to say it one way or another, but all I'll say is that if it is true that he wasn't there, then that means, and it is true that he's apparently a survivor, then that makes all of us survivors. Apparently.
But do you really think that would affect whether they would keep him as the vice chair? No.
No.
Because he would, he'd probably find a way to identify as a victim at that point and be allowed to hang out. So, interesting cat, man. I never liked him the moment he came out, but looking at these tweets.
If you need a gun to feel like a man, you need, misspelling, therapy, not a gun.
I need a lot of therapy. I mean, I'm just gonna admit that right now. Oh.
This is what they don't understand about firearms. Firearms are the great equalizers, right?
Yeah.
So they love to talk about, like, oh, you're compensating for something. Like, oh, that's why you have so many guns, because you have you're not well endowed. You're compensating. That's where they always go with these things. And I walk through all of this in my book, Conservatives Guide to Winning Every Gun Control Argument. They don't realize that firearms are the great equalizer, and a firearm is most useful for women who might not be able to fend off an opponent hand to hand. Most useful for queens like David Hogg, who might not be able to stand their own in a fist fight and need that extra firepower to protect themselves against much stronger, larger opponents. They think it's like to make us feel manlier, but it's a recognition that threats exist and people might be stronger than you, right?
Yeah.
And it is not, owning a gun is not saying like, oh, I'm now just as strong as them. No, it's an acknowledgement that it's the great equalizer. No matter who you go up against, you'll have at least a chance. And that's something that they never get. They like to shame people and say like, oh, well, you're just compensating for something, not really understanding the value in it in terms of protecting people and being that great equalizer.
Yeah, I trained with a person that was assaulted, realizing that they couldn't defend themselves, started training with a gun in hand-to-hand combat because they know they cannot compensate some of the strength. There's this thing called sexual dimorphism. Men are bigger and stronger. They just are. If you don't realize how equalizing a gun is, watch somebody point a gun at a group of men who's trying to break into their house and watch how quickly they flee.
Yeah.
If that gun wasn't there, they'll just steamroll you, gang. Trust me. I watch it every day. You don't know how important it is to protect yourself, but that David Hogg doesn't care. He's just making sure he's getting the line out there. He's just making sure he's carrying that water for the Democratic Party. He doesn't care if you can protect yourself. And now he's in charge, King. He's one breath away from being the chair, or one resignation away.
Yeah.
Imagine all the downstream effects he's going to have on the party.
Does he
from here on out.
get to be chair? I don't know how their rules are. I don't know if he gets to be chair. Maybe they have to have another vote.
A vote?
I can't imagine that
Yeah.
they'd let a man just take over a man's spot. There'd have to be some kind of gender balance. Knowing what little I know
Yeah.
about their situation there,
Yeah.
there'd have to be some kind of gender balance.
What do you
Yeah, we'll
think?
see. I mean, we'll see. I can't imagine that this is going to save the Democrat Party. They are embracing the worst parts of the Democrat Party, right?
They didn't even try to go center of it, right? They didn't
No.
even try to court people on the other side. They're swinging further left than they did before, and that's their winning plan right now. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for you losing even more voters once they see how far left you've swung, right?
Well, no, we say that, but the far left says, actually, this is center because they just picked 2 white dudes. There's no women of color. There's no alphabet people, Josh.
Well, it makes sense what you're saying, right? Because look how I don't know, man. I don't know that party at all. I don't
It doesn't
understand how they
make-
come
yeah.
to these conclusions. I don't understand the weird gender rules. Like, you want to talk about a group who claims they don't care about title and sex and what you are, but they make sure that in everything they do, they've ingrained race, age, sex, gender. They claim not to care about it, but they do all the time. I mean, you saw what DEI did. All it turned into
Yeah.
was anti-white hiring practices. It's crazy. They're the most fascist group I've ever seen.
They
Which
are.
is wild.
They are, but no, we're the fascists. We're apparently the fascists. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. We have a little bit of time left. I want to play this clip because something we've been talking about on the show for a while, Josh, is what's going to happen when state and local officials finally decide that they're going to actually interfere with immigration enforcement. Like, I know you saw over the weekend they have the
LA.
protests in California. That should just be an ICE operation,
I was thinking,
right?
man,
Like, where's ICE?
start running a camera. I mean, do
Yeah.
your job.
Facial recognition. We all have to get scanned at the airport. You're telling me you can't facial recognition these people? We can all get pulled over for anything. You're telling me you can't question someone's immigration status if they're blocking a federal highway? Well, in New Jersey, Governor Murphy was doing some kind of town hall style event, and he made actually a stunning admission that he is literally harboring an illegal alien in his home.
About, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Well, hold on. If he's committing a crime by harboring
Literally.
someone,
Literally.
so
This
interesting.
is 8 USC section 1324 A1A3. Make it big for everyone in the cheap seats. A1A3 makes it a crime to knowingly or in reckless disregard of the fact that an illegal alien has come to, entered, or remains in the United States in violation of law. Someone conceals, harbors, or shields from detection, or attempts to conceal, harbor, or shield from detection such alien in any place, including any building or any means of transportation. The governor of New Jersey just on television, well, I guess it was aired on television, but whatever that broadcast was, admitted to committing a crime that is punishable by I guess it's 10 years.
That's a lot of time
Um,
to be fined under Title 18.
it's either 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
It's either 5 or 10 years. Still, that is a lot, right?
Well, being governor doesn't shield you from the law. And if he thinks
No.
being governor shields him from the law, then he's got a thing coming, because ICE could just show up to his house. Or talk about sending a message if they went after him.
There is no way they don't show up to his house. You cannot, on television, admit to harboring an illegal alien in your garage, in the room above your garage. This isn't World War II. You're not hiding Anne Frank.
Yeah.
This is someone you know has broken the law. They're not going to be exterminated. They're just going to be removed from the country, right?
Sent
And
home.
to openly, flagrantly, unapologetically confess to a crime because he wants to score those political points, right? He just confessed to a crime for no other reason other than virtue signaling. Like, here's how righteous I am. I put my money where my mouth is. I don't just hope that they get to stay in the country. I'm hiding one in my attic.
And at the end of it, he kind of like teases him and says, "I'd like to see how that would go if they come
Yeah.
after me." And I'm paraphrasing that. I'm like, dude, do not tempt the administration or ICE at this point, because they will make you a martyr. I mean, they will do it.
ICE has to raid his home. They have to raid their home.
Yeah.
You can't just admit to harboring an illegal alien, right? They're testing whether Trump will do it. And here's the thing. This is the most open and shut case for a warrant.
Yeah.
The most open and shut case.
Yeah.
Your Honor, the governor of New Jersey admitted on camera that he's harboring an illegal alien in his home. He understands that it's not right because he says he doesn't want to share too much. And he basically dared us to do something about it. You get that warrant in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and he gave us a location.
Yeah.
And the place that he might be harboring when he says above their garage. Like, I think he chose those words to make it a statement, right? Is he trying to get this thing to happen? Does he want to be seen on camera? Being taken out at 2 a.m. in the morning? Will the CNN cameras be there, like when Roger Stone was being pulled out of his house, right? I mean, is he trying to create a made-for-TV moment? And that's the other part of it, right? I mean, is he playing a game here so that can happen, or is he just being a cocky prick? We shall see.
This is the thing, though. This is not like a slap on the wrist civil violation. This is, depending on the violation, this would probably fall under 5 years. It's a 5-year prison sentence.
I mean,
This is not a joke.
The legal costs alone could bankrupt somebody, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and at his age, having to do a 5 to 10 years, a nickel or a dime on him is going to be a lot of life.
And
That's
this is
why.
not something he's doing in his official capacity, hiding them in a government building.
Yeah.
This is something he's doing in his individual capacity, hiding them in his home. So the state of New Jersey wouldn't pay for his defense. And maybe they find a way to do it. But no, I mean, this is genuinely insane. And it makes you realize these people think they're untouchable.
Yeah.
They think that their cause is so just, so righteous, that they can go this far.
Just
And
wild, man.
if you don't raid if you don't get the warrant to check, I mean, maybe he's making it up. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not a crime to just bloviate and just spew bullshit online, right? Not a crime. Then you walk away. But if this is true, you have to. Otherwise, it's going to open the floodgates, and every government official, every elected leader, politician in this country is going to do the same thing.
And it won't, like you're saying, it just won't be the governor. It'll be your local school board who's trying to hide illegal anythings anywhere else, right? You have to. You've got to set the tone now. And the way they've been setting the tone from the start, 3 weeks in, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something on TV. And what if he doubles up on this, right? What happens if the others start? This becomes a thing amongst them in the latest news cycle. Like, are they inviting that? And then the administration has to walk a delicate line there, because they're probably looking for that made-for-TV moment to try to go after Trump. So, I see it as being a razor's edge here, right? You're doing the job you need to do, but one side's trying to get the cameras on you, right? And that would be the left trying to demonize you as you're just enforcing the law.
The minute he said he's hiding an illegal alien in the attic above his garage, they have to get a warrant. You can't. I know you're right. It's a razor's edge. It can go very poorly, right? You could definitely lose some points in public perception if it goes bad.
Yeah.
But you can't let the governor of a state harbor illegal aliens in his home. You just can't.
But
right?
What I know, but I'm worried, Max, is that they're trying to get that bleeding story to happen. They want somebody to get killed over this, right? And that's the thing that it's all fun and games until the media starts throwing the administration under the bus. And if they get that video of some kid dying or somebody being drugged out of their house, that's going to be the perception, right? So, yeah, I want him to go after the dude.
Yeah.
But when does that happen? And when does this... And that's going to be a time, but the whole thing starts to take a twist, right? Because you already see the people in the LA streets trying to block highways, committing a crime, saying that they haven't committed crimes, so they don't need to be deported. At what point do those start to escalate, right? And this is the thing I'm really worried about is, what happens when one side starts pushing back against the other? So they've got to do this, and they've got to do it fast. Otherwise, it just turns into a really big fight. Like, they've got to deport quick. They need to be like several thousand a day to get this thing under control. I don't know. I have my worries, man. Yeah, it was during Clinton. Who is that? That was
Elian Gonzalez.
Elian Gonzalez. Yeah.
This is not the image you want.
No.
You do not want the SWAT team pointing an MP5 at a child. That's not optics. Bad optics. If you can go in there, though, maybe without a fully kitted up SWAT team to get the illegal hiding in Governor Murphy's attic, go that route. But knowing the Trump administration, they are going to go shock and awe for sure. Shock and awe for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if every DHS agent isn't rerouted to the governor's mansion right now.
Or he's getting a phone call, a very uncomfortable phone call from his
Trump.
Lawyers or
from Trump
or ICE. Like maybe it's Trump himself. Like, dude, we will bring this hammer down now if you do not. And he's negotiating hard, man. He saw what he did with Mexico and what he did with Canada, what he's done with China, right? Mexico's already like, we're sorry, dog.
I just want to double check and make sure Canada hasn't caved yet.
Okay, but Mexico caved in almost just a day, like before the deadline, or like 12 hours or something stupid.
Oh, did Canada cave?
I don't think they did. I was talking about Mexico, and they put 50 or 10,000 troops on the board. They caved already.
They caved.
When?
Because
what's his face just came out this morning and said that we will not bow down, and then it took less than 3 hours.
He bowed so deeply he's going to need a chiropractor.
Seriously.
Here we go. Justin Trudeau, I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increasing resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat the organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I've also signed new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we'll be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. He caved. R.I.P.
Oh my God.
The great trade war of 2025. lasted a day and a half.
12 hours. Yeah, like less than 48 hours. Donald Trump has gotten Mexico and Canada bend the knee. China, probably a little longer. He only started with 10%, right? Let's see what it takes to get them to the table. Is he going to take it to 15, 20? Plus seeing everybody else cave as quickly as they did. That's impressive, man. China's probably going to follow suit. Woo.
Oh, no, China won't. And Trump made it 10% because 10% won't break China, right? He just wants to get money from China. 10% would be from China, and China won't stop it. China makes too much money from fentanyl manufacturing.
Oh yeah, the chemicals alone.
Yeah, but listen, the minute you actually dive into the economics of how reliant on the U.S., Canada, and Mexico both are, and you realize how the United States sends like 10-15% of our exports to Canada and Mexico. You realize just how one-sided the trade war was. Donald Trump was taking both of them on at once. He was even hinting he was going to take on Europe at the same time, right?
Dude,
they bend the knee. They caved. They completely. I mean, they're bending themselves in pretzels to bow down to Trump right now.
yeah. This is unbelievable because Trudeau came out with a speech where he said they will essentially not be bullied. Right. And now, like, how do you go before your own people and say, I'm a coward. I was wrong. Like, he had nothing to stand on.
Here's the thing, though. The minute you the minute you find out that Canadian border officials or government officials are still taking bribes from the cartels and still letting people and drugs through, then you have to say, listen, you tried, you couldn't. But and did you see the Dow Jones? Did you see the Dow Jones today?
No, I was looking at the
we'll end on this.
Are they up or down?
They ended slightly down. But so they dropped down like a ton, right? It came positive for a little bit today after Mexico bent the knee, and it looks like it closed before Canada bent the knee. I expect it's going to go up tomorrow, but everyone's saying, "Oh, it's going to destroy the stock market." The stock market ended 0.28% down, and it's going to go shooting straight up tomorrow.
Wow. Big win, dude. Like win after win after win. And it's been at a breakneck pace. Gang, this is what happens when you get like government works for you.
Yeah.
They go after the stuff you don't need anymore.
Yeah, I said at the start, it is a little bit hard to keep track of everything. We were going to talk about this, and we just had to check to make sure Canada hadn't caved, and they caved while we were on the air. It's. I'll never say it because I'll never get tired of winning, but a lesser man, as I said at the start, might get tired of winning because it's just too much. It's too much winning. Not for me, for lesser people.
No.
I'll give you the final word before we wrap up.
3 weeks in, and it feels good. It feels real good, but stay vigilant. Make sure that you still hold them to the fire. And let's think about 2000. Let's think about the next election as we move forward. Let's not get
for sure.
Let's not get complacent. That's where I'm at.
For sure. Shandy says not tired yet. I like that. Not tired yet. I'm not tired yet. I'm just saying a lesser person might be a little tired. Not me though. Someone else.
I'm making that into a t-shirt. We're going to sell a t-shirt that said not tired of winning. We're putting that out there.
We should. That's it for this edition of the podcast. If you like the podcast, subscribe. As I said earlier, we have the audio podcast available everywhere audio podcasts are found. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Audible, all great places. Subscribe, even if you watch us live. That way you can set it to auto download and listen as you go about your day on your commute and whatnot. We go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Rumble, YouTube, X. So tune in for that. And that's it. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back our country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.